Well, hello, and welcome to Aftershock Online. Today, I'm very excited about our guest that we have here, Mr. Roland Sarria. He's a longtime friend of mine, but man, he's got an incredible history in MMA. So he came here from Cuba in 1967. He grew up in not the nicest of areas, and he went on to go and play college football as a line guard. He's just a great guy. Started in MMA 20 years ago and had really the biggest promotion in Arizona, and he's got a lot of great things going on. So, Roland, thanks for being here with me.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, when we first met, it was through a mutual friend of ours, and you had Rage in the Cage at that point in time, and, you told me that it started in, like, 1998?
98, yes. Yeah.
It's awesome. So how did you get started in the fight business?
Actually, what happened back in 1994, I was living in Lawndale, California, and I kept hearing about fighting, like these Brazilians that fought like monkeys.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really weird. Like, they kept calling them monkey fighting. And I had a friend that was training with the Gracies, and at the time they had an academy in Torrance, and there's another one in West Los Angeles. I decided to go check it out in West Los Angeles in 1994, and there was one of the brothers called Rickson Gracie, and turns out he was actually the best of the brothers, including Hoist Gracie from the UFC, and I just started training with them. It was just, I was young, I was in my early 30s, and I was fascinated by the style of martial arts. I had no background in martial arts. I didn't know anything about martial arts, and it took me to a journey that I never ever would have expected. It was incredible.
That's fantastic. So you not only trained, but you trained with now, as we know, as legends. I mean, the Gracie family is really where UFC got a lot of notoriety in the beginning, because it was Hoist Gracie and then Ken Shamrock and all that. And you trained with the family, learning Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. What was that like? What were they like?
It was incredible. Me having a Cuban heritage, they having a Brazilian heritage, it was almost identical. So for me, fitting in, it was really easy. They're from another country, so was I. So other than the language barrier, it was a little different, Portuguese and Spanish. But it was really neat because, in those days, if you wore the Gracie shirt, it was almost like the old days, kind of like the gangs, I guess. I don't know. But people will look at your shirts and they would identify it with the UFC, and it was really neat. They didn't know English very well, but they embraced me warmly. Training with Rickson Gracie was unreal. It was kind of like the modern-day Bruce Lee. At the time, I really didn't know who he was, compared to up today, knowing who he is today. He's like a living god in the BJJ world. I was fortunate enough to go out with him and have good times with him privately and train with him one-on-one, and he really didn't really understand it back then. I got to train with Maynard, the lead singer from Tool, Johnny Rocket, the drummer from Poison. I mean, I can go on and on and on. Matter of fact, I was going to be Claude Van Damme's double, believe it or not, in 95.
I can see that. You got a little...
Yeah, I was one of the, I guess, producers or the agent. I don't know who he was. He used to train with me for years. And he asked me if I wanted to get into show business. And he wanted to start me off as a stuntman, as Claude Van Damme stuntman, then eventually be an action star hero. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. But it never happened. I didn't show up to the meeting.
Okay. It's a good way not to get the job, right?
Well, I was young and wild. And, at the time, I was a male dancer, and I thought I was already a movie star. Wow. But that was incredible life. I have lived an incredible life.
Yeah. Okay, so male dancer too, and then starting an MMA promotion, and you were out in California training with them, right?
Right.
So what made you come to Arizona and do all that?
In 1996, I had a really close friend living in Scottsdale, and he kept trying to sell Arizona to me. And back then, I thought Arizona was pigs and cows and horses. So I couldn't even imagine coming to Arizona, But I took a trip out, and I was like, whoa, this is pretty nice, new and fresh and different. And I decided to move out in '96, open up a martial arts school called Barusa. And a journey came that I never ever expected. I never thought I would be an MMA promoter or a pioneer. And I had to fight to get it legalized and get it approved because the state was upset with me when I first launched Rage in the Cage, telling me it was illegal, but there was no laws. So I ran with it for 3 years until it finally got legalized. I was the first MMA licensed promoter in the history of Arizona, and then the rest was history.
Yeah, and when you started, because I'm a big MMA fan, have been a long time, so know the history. That was really kind of the second run of UFC, and it hadn't taken off yet. So you were still starting in a sport that didn't have a lot of notoriety. I mean, how did you create awareness about your shows and fill seats?
Coming from the nightclub industry, like I said, I was a male dancer, and I was proud of it, believe it or not. It was a good time. Knowing that I came from a nightclub background, I kind of knew how to promote it, I guess. Back in '98, we didn't really have social media. There wasn't a whole lot of ways to get the word out unless you had a lot of money to advertise. So I would advertise with radio stations, KUPD especially, and I would make up fight cards and give everybody nicknames. Like Homer the Rock Moore or Mike King Kong Johnson. I made up a lot of the names just to create some excitement, and hopefully people will gravitate towards it. And back in those days, we used to call it cage fighting, and then or no holds bar, NHA. Wait, how you say that? No holds bar. Forgot NHB. I'm sorry. And now it's called MMA. And it was just word of mouth. It felt like an underground fighting. We used to do the shows at Graham Central Station in Phoenix, and it was awesome. It was fun. We got the word out. We draw 500, 600 people, 700 people, and then eventually it started to grab the attention of the mainstream a little bit. We went to bigger venues like Celebrity Theater. I did shows at the Glendale Arena, all the local casinos. It started to grow, and we had a local strong following, actually. I mean, my biggest turnout was over 10,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah, it was nuts at the Glendale Arena.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I mean, I had been to several of your shows back at the casino, and man, I mean, you always had a good turnout. It was a lot of fun. So in those early days, though, I mean, how did you... So you created awareness by, obviously, probably the fighters helped promote a little bit, and, you created fun names, you advertised, and but were there any struggles in the beginning, other than obviously trying to get a sport that's legalized? Yeah,
there was a lot of struggles. I was a pioneer. I never knew how to be a promoter. I didn't know how to even do a cage fight, MMA. And I just winged it. I think that old saying, ignorance is bliss. I just, young and wild and reckless, and just did them. I just did the shows. I never thought about what can go wrong and who's against me. I just felt like, hey, we're just going to go out there and do an MMA show. And I got to be honest with you, I think MMA has altered and changed a lot of people's lives that fought in the cage, because it's a very humbling experience in a positive way. And a lot of people were real negative about MMA back then. Oh, it's barbaric. Oh, it's this. Well, guess, a lot of these guys, if they wouldn't have entered the cage or got into MMA training or BJJ, I believe that their lives would have probably been altered in a negative way. I've seen hundreds and hundreds of people change after a fight night, where they get humbled and they're like, whoa, I'm not as tough as I thought, or wow, well, I guess this is what toughness is, or, instead of going out robbing people or committing crimes. But yeah, it was a lot of struggles. A lot of people didn't want to support me. Sponsors didn't want to get involved. The mainstream thought we were barbaric Neanderthal people, even though we were kind of. But it was a blast. It was a lifetime that it will never come again. It was just the pioneer era. It was just unreal. It was so much fun.
Yeah, well, I know they've said that you were one of the 3 godfathers of MMA. Talk a little bit about that. What does that mean?
Yeah, the three godfathers, or the three horsemen, I call it. That's something I created. Myself, Roland Sarria, Monty Cox, and Terry, I hope I don't mess up his name, Truebeck. He owns King of the Cage.
Mm-hmm.
We were the three founders in terms of bringing MMA recognized in the whole United States. I don't believe Monty is still promoting, but Terry still runs King of the Cage. He does a great job. I'm still promoting, believe it or not. I just don't do MMA shows anymore. I sold the show in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Just got it back 2 years ago. I haven't really brought it back, but I'm strongly considering bringing Rage in the Cage back. But yeah, it was very, very difficult. I was a one-man show. I mean, I did it all. I mean, I did the announcing.
You didn't have a big staff?
No. It was just me and a good friend of mine, John Petrelli, was my matchmaker. But no, put it this way. The first, I don't know, maybe first year, I did the matchmaking. I financed it. I did the announcing. I did everything, and after the year was out, John Petrelli got involved, and he became my matchmaker. That relieved me in a lot of ways, but I still pretty much ran all the operations. It was just me with a 6th grade education, with no I had absolutely no background in promoting in terms of what I was doing. I just winged it.
Mm-hmm.
Even at my peak, I was still by myself. People had no idea. I think a lot of people thought it was somewhat of a medium level production or show or whatever, but no, it was just me.
Wow, yeah, you would think there would be a lot, because I've been to some of your bigger shows, and for one person to handle all that's crazy.
Yeah.
So, MMA, we were talking earlier, and you were telling me a little bit about how today with the cell phones, because when you first started, cell phones were there, but people weren't on social media, and you didn't have to keep their attention every second. But as that became, social media became the thing that everybody does, how did you create that entertainment value to get people to want to come out and see it, and then keep them there the entire time?
Part of the reason was myself being outrageous on the mic. You've seen me. I'm a little different. A lot different than I am today. I'm actually trying to be good. My friend Rick Reyes, that was my MC even to this day. We brought a different element of entertainment. My generation, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have internet, social media. So we were able to sit there a lot longer than the generation today, where they get distracted through their phones, whatever the case is. And what I did with Rage in the Cage is I made it a hybrid. It's sort of WWE / conventional, say, boxing. Mm-hmm. So I tried to interact with the crowd throughout the event, along with my co-MC Rick Reyes, that I felt that I had to keep the crowd involved if I wanted to hold them. Because unless you have a friend fighting, mm-hmm. It's not the funnest thing in the world to sit for 2 or 3 hours. So
that's fair.
Yeah, so knowing that we're doing, for example, at a casino, and you knew there's a chance you can go out to a club inside the casino or gamble, how do you keep the crowd there that is there just to watch MMA? They're not there to watch one of their friends. It's totally different. We had a hell of a run. We took a lot of criticism because people thought that what we were doing was a little silly. Me on the mic, getting the crowd riled up throughout the show, and my co-MC, we would interact with the crowd. It was no one's ever done that. We were chartering into deep waters, and I believe that some people liked it, some people didn't like it, and I believe that if you're going to be successful in entertainment, because it is entertainment.
Yep.
Look at WWE. Come on, I don't watch it, but obviously it must be awesome because everybody watches it. But look at it. It's like a male soap opera. It's entertaining. It's silly. And that's what I was trying to do. And I felt that I had a lot of success with it. Like I said, you can't make everyone happy. But that's what I did. I just created more of an entertainment value.
Yeah, and that, I think, is so important. A lot of the shows that are out there now, I do see that there's that entertainment gap, and people probably only stay in for 2 or 3. So to create an experience that isn't just MMA, but is also entertainment at a level, that's something I think if it was brought back and you did decide to do it, it would be huge. So We talked a little bit about Rage in the Cage, but I know a lot of the fighters that have come in and fought ended up going on to other, like the UFC, for example. And you were a breeding ground for that. I mean, what does that feel like, knowing that you put something together that really was a springboard to someone else making hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars?
Occasionally I think about it. I don't really think about it a whole lot. I guess you could say I played a big role in a lot of people's lives. We've had quite a bit of Rage in the Cage fighters make it to the UFC. For example, Dominic Cruz. He was the champion. He had some rage. Henry Cedugas, for example, the flyweight champion, he used to set up my cage. He trained with me for about a year or two.
No kidding.
Yeah. Henry, he just beat, what's his name, CJ, I can't remember the fighter. He just fought about a week or 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So we've had a lot of fighters come out of Rage in the Cage. Matter of fact, there's a champion right now, but I can't remember his name.
Well, I know Justin Gaethje.
That's right.
He's
Justin.
from my hometown, Safford, so I used to watch him in Rage in the Cage, and I saw him then go on to UFC, and he's had so much success. It's amazing, but without those promotions and that farm league, so to speak, it's how do these guys get to the UFC? It's almost impossible without a promotion like yours. So that's amazing. What if you were going into business now and you're to tell someone like yourself when you were in your late 20s or 30s starting Rage the Cage, I mean, what would you tell them? What would you do different?
I would tell them that if you don't have money, like I didn't have money, you better be prepared to get your hands dirty. Set up the cage, you break it down before and after, set up chairs. You better learn social media, stretch out your money as much as you can if you don't have a lot of money. Look, it's real easy to be a promoter if you have financial backing. That's easy. But a real promoter is when the money comes out of your pocket. Like me, I'm a real promoter. I had to spend my money, my credit card. I didn't have investors behind me like a lot of the other shows. But I'll be honest with you. I'm not trying to toot my horn right now. I am the greatest promoter in history in combat sports. That's just my opinion. I've promoted more combat events than anybody in history. But I'm going to tell you something. I've never got a phone call in my life by any investor, anyone, to say, Roland, I'd like to speak with you. Let's talk about Rage in the Cage. Let's do something big. It's never happened. Can you believe that? It's never happened. One of the reasons a lot of these shows fail is because they don't have a guy like me. I'm sure there's other ones like me, but not one like me. I'm not trying to toot my horn. I had to pave my way. I had to learn everything old school. If I had investors or smart businessmen around me, then or even today, I'll be honest with you, I would be unstoppable. I'm strongly considering bringing Rage in the Cage back, but I'll be upfront with you. I don't network. I don't know rich people. I don't know smart people. I'm a loner. I'm a drifter. I've been saving my money up for the last 2 years because I just got Rage in the Cage back. I'm going to probably bring it back 2020. But I'm sitting on a landmark. The Rage in the Cage is a trademark here in Arizona and still in the country. But I never understood why no one has ever brought me into a new production or a new show, that is, or get involved with me, because I've seen so many MMA shows fail. 99% of them do. Mm-hmm. And the reason is, it's just my opinion, they don't have the right front man with experience. They got smart guys. They got people with money. But they don't have that one guy, and that's me. And I can make millions. I know how to do it.
Oh, I've seen, some of these shows, and the fact that you put your money on the line and you had all those butts in the seats, that's what most people can't do, is put butts in the seats.
And I can stretch a penny like no one can. I'm the greatest combat promoter in history with a penny. With a penny. I can stretch it like no one can. Mm-hmm. I can make friends help me without paying them because they just like me. Not everyone likes me, but a lot of them like me. And they'll stretch me out like yourself. You've helped me out tremendously, and I appreciate you. You're one of my great friends.
Absolutely.
I don't have a lot of great friends. But I want to share something with you that I don't share too many often, but I want to share it with you. I remember as a kid, I was watching the series Godfather.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget what the Godfather says, keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. Wow. You know what happened to me in my life? It was the opposite. I never worried about my competitors, if you want to call them enemies. I never looked at them as my enemies. They were my competitors. They made me better. You got to watch out for your friends. They all became my competitors. Can you believe that? Isn't that terrible?
Yeah. So they were with you in Rage in the Cage, and some of these people went and tried to do
all
their
of them
own
did,
thing.
but they all failed.
Yeah.
And I'm still around. I guess when the dust settled, the truth will always reveal itself. So anyways, for some reason I just brought that up. I don't know why. As you can see, my brain's a little different. And I think that's what made me so successful in promoting. As you know, Josh, I'm still promoting.
Mm-hmm.
I do little small shows all the time.
They're a lot of fun.
Yeah. We don't draw big numbers in terms of attendance because it's more like a kid show. It's like a martial arts show. But I do want to bring Rage in the Cage back. But I got to be honest with you. I truly believe I need help, either financially or intelligence, organization. You know, I am, that's where I believe I'm at. But if it doesn't happen, I'll still do it again next year, 2020, and I believe I'll still be very successful. But I think I can be huge, very big.
Yeah, no, I think it'd be a great opportunity because MMA is, it's been on upswing for a while, but it seemed to me, and tell me if I'm wrong, but it seemed to flatten a little bit, but it seems to be kind of on the upswing again. And that being said, I think it'd be a perfect time for someone with the experience that had, money behind it.
This is what I think is happening. This is just my personal opinion. The UFC is relying on marketing fighters to draw the crowd for pay-per-view or ESPN, okay? And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I also think they need to expand and grow, kind of like WWE. You have to bring more entertainment. Bruce Buffer, if you watch him, he jumps around, he has a lot of energy. I like that. But they need more of that in other elements of the event, or people are going to be bored. That's just my opinion. If you want to capture that new generation that is growing like it is today, as you can see, the new generation today is totally different than mine. Even yours, Josh. What are you, 30s
35,
now?
yeah.
Well, the kids today are even more different than you were in terms of keeping stimulated, being entertained during a 2 or 3 hour show. And if you don't grow in terms of entertainment value to stimulate that new generation, you're going to lose them. They've lost me. I can't watch MMA anymore like I used to. I'm bored. I'm just bored unless I know the guy or somehow the guy attracts me in some whatever way. But I personally don't even watch it barely anymore.
Yeah, and to that point, we live in a society where you got to keep people's attention constantly. And a show like that, they might stay for that event, but what's the goal? It's to get them back to the next one. And to get them back to the next one, you got to make sure it's super entertaining so that not only they come back, but they bring friends. And, that is the key to a very successful promoter. And, you've had a ton of success. I know you don't give yourself enough credit, but you've had a ton of success in the promotion world and in a lot of areas in business. And it's not easy to put everything on your own dime. I know, I've done it too. And it's, you do it expecting great results, and sometimes good things happen, sometimes they don't, but you just ride the wave, and as you pioneer things, great things happen. So
I want to share this with you, if you don't mind. When I was running Rage in the Cage, people thought that's all I did. I ran a martial arts school. I was a telemarketer as well for a few years. And I also had another job. I was a security guard. I got to share this with you. Yeah. When I did my very first show in 2005 at the Glendale Arena, I'm not sure what it's called today, where the Coyotes played. This is a great story. The show was on a Saturday. Well, the day before we had weigh-ins, I was a telemarketer, working 9 to 5 roughly, or 8 to 4. I had to get out of work, drive as fast as I can to weigh-ins, okay? Now, the next day, I had no idea what was going to happen at this big, giant arena. So, back in those days, I used to drink a little bit, alcohol. I don't really drink anymore back then. So I was so nervous that before the show, I was downstairs drinking a couple beers. And I told my friends, do not tell me what kind of attendance we're having until I walk out there. I'll never forget this the rest of my life. Now, imagine being a telemarketer. Next day, you go to the Glendale Arena, and I'll never forget this. My friend comes up to me and goes, Roland, you're not going to believe what you're going to see. I go, don't tell me. So I walked out of the arena, went up the stairs, and I could not believe. I seen the whole lower bowl completely almost full. I'll never forget that the rest of my life. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I've made it. I have arrived. And we did 6 shows there, and they got bigger and bigger and bigger. And they brought a new management team in. They didn't like MMA. So we had to move. We ended up going to, I believe, Fort McDowell. We were drawn about 2,000 people. We dropped quite a bit, maybe because it's kind of out to the side or whatever the case is. And it was really crazy because it's been such a roller coaster from the highs and the lows, and that if you're not mentally strong in certain ways, I can remember doing a show on my credit card, okay, leading up to the show, with no money in the bank. That was 99% of the time. Then, this is awesome. So I'm like, $25,000, $26,000 deep in the show. Mm-hmm. The day of the show, I'm writing checks to all the fighters, the commission, etc., knowing I don't have the money. Now, this is awesome. So at the end of the night, I get the check, right? Hoping I can pay everyone back. I put the check in on Monday mornings before it opens, and then knowing that everyone's going to cash their check on that Monday. That was my life, 99% of the time. But no one knew that. Everyone thought I was this rich North Scottsdale guy driving a Hummer. It's called debt. Yeah. It's called stress. That's why I dye my hair once a month. And people had no idea what I went through. And being by myself. It was rough, real rough. But yet, fun.
Yeah, that's crazy. So telemarketers still working to make sure you had some money, and then putting that money directly into the promotion, and then just this constant robbing Peter to pay Paul in the beginning stages of it to get your business
Paulie,
going.
Most of it. I only had a good run. Well, it was always a good run. It started to get easier as time went on. Mm-hmm. I was able to save a little bit. Didn't have to work anymore. And then it became financially pretty good for me. I had a pretty nice lifestyle, other than being a little young or a little reckless. Didn't really know how to handle money. Never had it. Kind of started to live the Viva Loca life a little bit, quite a bit actually. Mm-hmm. And now I'm 55, and I'm ready. I'm so ready now. I mean, I'm ready. I weathered the storm in terms of the Viva Loca life, the partying. Never did drugs, though. I was only a beer drinker. That's what people didn't understand. People thought I was nuts, back in the younger days. But got myself in shape, finally. I feel really good physically and mentally. I'm ready, man. I'm ready. I'm ready. 2020, I'm going to make my run. And I truly believe that I truly believe I'm going to really go really big this time. I feel it. I just know it.
I see it too. I do think that right person on the financial side will just come in because it makes sense having that pair. So, no, I'm super excited. Thanks for coming on today. This is a lot of fun. Before we leave, do you have any asks of the audience? And where are the next couple shows that they can come see the small ones?
Right now, I have a little show that I'm doing March 2nd at Maya's Bar and Grill.
I've been to that one.
Yeah,
lot of
it's a
fun.
small little martial arts show. I do these shows roughly every 3 to 4 weeks. If you're into martial arts, it's a fun show to watch. But I would just say, just wait 2020. Like I said, I'm going to make my move. If nobody out there in the world wants to join me, I'm just going to do it myself. But I'm excited about it. I'm ready. I'm ready to come back. The stars are all lining up. I'm ready. I'm ready to rock and roll.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to it. 2019 is going to be good too.
Yeah.
So.
Did you know I'm going to Cuba again?
Oh, no. I knew you went, last year?
I went 2.5 years ago. I left Cuba when I was 4. I wanted to go back. I'm strongly considering running for politics there. I'm just joking.
I never know.
I'm just joking. Anyways, but no, Josh, it was a pleasure you bringing me on this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's called a podcast, right?
Yep.
And I appreciate you. You're one of the few guys that was able to go through the outer crust surface and understand that there's someone there other than that outer crust surface that most people judge. I never said I was normal. Actually, I am normal, but the problem is most of the world's asleep. I'm awakened. Anyways, but let's not go. We'll talk about that some other time.
Awesome. No, I appreciate your friendship. Thanks for coming on today.
Right,
This is
Josh.
great.
Thank you.
Hey, guys, thanks for tuning in. Go check out some of Roland's shows. Go to ucfcaz.com, and you can see upcoming schedules for some of the promotions. So thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you in a couple weeks.